Well, thank you for shortlisting the Moira Bevan team within the top 3 for this category. I am actually presenting on behalf of the multidisciplinary team here today, and we're going to talk about how we actually implemented a care bundle for the insertion and maintenance of peripheral venous catheters, commonly known to me as a cannula or a Venflon Just to give you some background then, before we actually implemented the care bundle, which is ongoing work at the moment, we recognise that the majority of our patients that definitely come into the acute setting were actually cannulised during their admission period. We also recognise that we are moving a lot of care now out into the community, and that also is an area that we can take forward within that setting as well. It is also fundamental to care, patients having these cannulas for treatment and ongoing care out there. We also recognise that there was a high risk of infection, but also other risks associated with cannula care within the organisation. So we introduced a care bundle for both the insertion and the maintenance, promoting best practice, evidence-based practice, that we could say that this has been research-based, and it's also been linked to the 1,000 Lives programme, which was also made a must-do, which was really welcoming from my point of view, in that it was much therefore easier to introduce there as well. Before we actually implemented the care bundle, we actually did a prevalence survey across an acute setting within Neville Hall and the Royal Gwent Hospital. And to be honest, it was quite alarming really that we actually indicated that we had a 7% infection rate associated with our cannula devices there. We also identified or confirmed really that what we already expected, is that there was very poor or little documentation around the cannula care on patients. There was very fragmented recording of VIP scores out there, and individual areas had introduced what they'd seen as best practice. And we also recognised that we didn't really have an organisational policy that promoted a standardisation around the VIP score, and that we were using the Royal Marsden as reference to that. It was evident across Wales and within the Bevan Health Board that we had a steady increase of MSSA bacteremias. And when we actually dug down and looked at our bacteremias, there was a very common denominator in that those patients had actually had a cannula at some point within either their admission period or during their stay within our hospital setting. Though on hand on heart we couldn't say that is where they actually got the bacteremia from, but it was a very common risk associated. We're also aware that 30% of us actually carry Staph aureus as part of our normal flora of our skin, so we can make the assumption that it may be associated to poor skin cleaning prior to the insertion of those cannulas. So what did we do? Following the prevalence, we actually developed a small task and finish group that consisted of myself, the infection prevention team, the venous access coordinator, clinical audit, because we recognised that we needed measurement for our processes and our outcome. But what was absolutely key was that we had some key champions, people that were actually going to take this forward within the clinical area. The infection control team were there to promote, encourage, facilitate or whatever, but it was these key champions who actually did the work at the ground. We used improvement methodology using the PDSA cycles that we've already heard lots about from Alan Wilson today. And first one that we really looked at was actually look at our current environment. We've got a saying, we've got to have the right tools for the right job, and it is about doing things right first time. So we looked at where we actually kept what we needed to insert a cannula. Did we have the cannulas, the dresses, the flushes, everything that we needed, skin prep together, or was they spread around? We looked at actually changing the skin prep. We previously used alcohol swab, and we converted to a chlorhexidine 2% plus alcohol. We also recognised that previously, when we first started this on our pilot ward, we had a 4-page document for the insertion and maintenance of a cannula. A bit over ambitious, I think. So we recognised that one way doesn't suit all, really, and that we actually got that down to a sticker that is the size of a patient address graph. So definitely some PDSA cycles in process and in work there. And we introduced some colour paper as well. So they're just some of the examples that we utilised. This is just one example of our measurements. We're now currently running at 20 wards and departments across the organisation, appreciating that we got a lot further to go. We actually record the process measures every week, and there is a carrot at the end of the day. If we can sustain sustainability or maintain it, then we will actually go to monthly auditing. We recognise that we can't just record overall compliance with the care bundle. We want to know each process individually so that we can go back in, support any areas that are actually with a non-compliance. And what we found was that it's usually around the documentation aspect of the care bundle was the non-compliance. We also recognised that we needed to give them some outcome data as well, because we could say, yes, we're doing all this work, we got the process right, but what actually impact are we having on our patients? So we linked that to our MSSA bacteremias and our MRSA bacteremias, and this is our intensive care outcome. And you can see from that, since introducing the care bundle, we've not had an MSSA bacteremia in that department. So what changes or lessons learned? Well, we've got an increased awareness. I've got ward sisters saying to me, when's the bundle coming to me next? Which is really encouraging, because they are actually seeing the patients being transferred across the organisation. So there's evidence of those stickers or documentation actually being used. We have got an organisational policy, and it does incorporate the care bundle for that as well. So that has also promoted a standardisation across our organisation. Patients are having daily assessments. We know that each shift that a nurse is actually asking that patient, is this cannula Venflon still needed? Can we get it out? Because we also recognise that every day that we have a cannula in situ that is not used, we are increasing that infection rate for at least 5%, not forgetting those other risk factors associated with it as well. We got cannula reduction and earlier removal. Within our medical assessment unit, I was told this week, previously I used to cannulate everybody, but I don't now, that I could actually got that support. And that is absolutely key as well to those champions in those clinical areas. They feel well supported, so that they've got somebody to go to and say, we are having these issues, what do we need to do next, etc. Not one way suits all. That was a very steep and early learning curve for us with this project. Trying to get the anaesthetist to fill in 4 pieces of paper was just a no-no. So definitely we need to recognise that, but also recognising that we can't deviate from the care bundle, but how you actually implement it is about what suits that ward or what suits that department. Clinical engagement is at an early stage, again, is absolutely key. We implemented the care bundle. Our pilot ward was actually a stroke ward where it was very seen as a nursing role, and it was only when we moved on, we got our 95% compliance, we moved on and we went to theatres, and it was the role of the anaesthetist to actually cannulate those patients, and we recognised that we hadn't engaged them prior to starting that. So that was definitely a lesson learned. We will continue to audit and feedback results as it has actually maintained momentum. People can actually see their outcome and their process data. But also this is work to sort of give us a foundation for taking other care bundles forward within the organisation, and we are looking to move like the central venous catheter care bundle out of ITU, etc., and we will use the same sort of approach as what we've done for this. So it's been exciting, it's been challenging, and we recognise it's very much ongoing, because patients will continue to have cannulas for the near future. So thank you very much.
Moira. Any questions on this one?
Just a quick question. On your compliance graph, you were doing 100%, and then you suddenly went down to 20. And what the story was?
The story was the change of doctors in the intensive care unit. They were on the rotation, so we analysed that data, and we've got it into the induction pack now. So as soon as they enter the intensive care unit, they will know about this bundle. But if we hadn't have, had that process, we wouldn't have known. So we had a conversation with our ITU this week. We said we're going to monthly data now, but perhaps every 6 months we'll go to weekly for when we change the doctors. So, yeah.
Any more questions?
Claire Treggett, and I work in Cardiff and Vale, enhanced recovery nurse. I just wondered, it sounds like a lot of data collection for each, if you're collecting data on each VEMFLON for each patient. Who does all that? Is that a clinical?
The actual key champions do the data collection, or who they got partners in that role. We collect the data, for example, in theatre on our ORMIS system. But we also do observational audit because we recognise it was very much a documentation audit, and not that we don't believe what people are saying, but we ask individuals to observe 5 cannulas a week going in. I'm like the wicked witch really, and I go onto these wards and say, just tell me what the care bundle is for PVC. So we got other ways of actually backing up what the audit is actually telling us as well, and recognising it is onerous. Hopefully it will go to the nursing metrics in the future as well. So so it is a key. We support as well. We do the first couple of audits with the key champions, and then they go in there.
Thank you, Moira. I enjoyed that, and of course I would as the nurse director for Moira Bevan. But I just wanted to know, has the team started to think about how we ask patients about this? Because these are very painful for patients. And I just wondered if you'd thought about getting patient satisfaction, because you've had a 28% reduction in MSSA, I think.
We did, and we have developed a patient information leaflet that we are piloting on D7, which is a ring-fence orthopaedic unit, where those patients can actually, I went to see one 6 months ago now, and he said, that's okay, it's a VIP score of 0, so, because he was on daily antibiotics for a while. I think there's work that we need to look at further. It was actually suggested the day that we were judged that we actually take that information booklet to our community setting, because we've put this into rapid response. So there's definitely a need for that link with patient engagement. But we have started, but it's very much work in progress.
For most patients, this is just one little bit of lots and lots and lots of interventions. But do you think that because you're focusing on one aspect of what people do, which is quite a common thing, that all the other things that they do, they suddenly start thinking a bit more about, and perhaps the quality of what they do with other aspects of their care might improve too? Hopefully that would be the case. So, although we have linked this to our outcome measures of reduction of MSSA and MRSA, we are also hoping that we will reduce other bacteremias, and it is around that awareness and linking it to like the Clean Your Hands campaign, the 5 moments. So whatever we can do to actually promote best practice, increase patient safety, then definitely, yeah. But we haven't got the evidence to say that it has had an impact, and I don't believe we think it has, but it's getting that outcome measurements for you, yeah.
I wasn't going to let you get away with a question, was I? What about our colleagues in WAST? Have you started any work with WAST? Because clearly a lot of VEMFLONs are inserted actually on the road, as you know, I discovered one day. Yeah.
That is something again that we need to look at. We know that I am aware that the ambulance service then, for example, are implementing the care bundle. They are using the skin prep. They've gone over to like safety device cannulas, etc. So but to actually say we have sat down and got a strategy together, currently our policy does say could we remove the cannula within 24 hours of admission, because knowing the type of environment that they are actually put in. But if they are implementing the care bundle robustly, so we need to find out what their process measurements are really, to see if we're confident enough to actually step down that intervention during our patient's admission period. So, yeah.
That's the next job then.
Yeah, I
thank
knew
you.
I wouldn't get away with
Hi Moira, I'm going to take advantage of having both you and Denise here, if she doesn't mind, put on the spot. But one of the things that we find across all programmes really in 1,000 Lives, and you mentioned it, is the real importance of strong executive leadership. And where we see a real success is where you as a team have got the support of your leaders. So I just wondered if you can sort of give us some tips really in terms of how that's worked in practice, so we can help to share that with perhaps across the programmes, and also perhaps if Denise doesn't mind sort of giving us a view of what it means for her in terms of the leadership role that she plays.
From a data point of view, I think we've got a reporting mechanism now that we go from ward to board. So previously, around this aspect of care, if we had asked the ward, what is your infection rate to cannulas, they may have known, they may not have known. So they are now seeing that, but also we are being observed then, or by the board via various committees to what our outcome datas are, and also it is that support. We know that we've got that support, and that just gives us confidence in taking strategies forward really. So
I guess it's having people that are champions, people who have done improvement methodology. There's a number of teams who actually get together and it becomes infectious. I'm delighted to hear that people feel supported, because I'm sure Grant and myself would want that. I guess one of the big things that gets us to many of the improvement elements that infection control has done, they give us a cake. So, but something like that is really important, and it's about recognising success. That continual feedback to the wards and making sure that they have that. But I've got to say, infection control always have this cake, and Grant and I go along and support the wards or the areas that have had 300, maybe 400 days non-MRSA. But for me, it's important because it has a huge impact on patient care. And we know from this data that patient care is being improved. We've got a long way to go, but anything that can improve our patients' experience, I think that you would get support from the board and the executives. I'm on a diet at the moment, so.
That don't mean that we can have a blood culture though.
Was there any more questions? I mean, I had a final one, and it links to the cake really, but or the leadership. But one thing you alluded to earlier to mention was the use of champions, and you could see that when we're judging, sort of the almost to the point of I imagine people. I think you said Wicked Witch dare not defy the champions, but it was clear that you'd had quite a number of key people who were really passionate about this, dotted around, who were really pushing this. I wonder how you sort of got to that stage, how you sort of created that passion among them, and then how you're sustaining it.
I think that we were very fortunate in that we have been able to develop an infection prevention linked champion process or system within the organisation. We also got people that are interested in IV care and a group around that. So we wanted to use those people because
we were never going to achieve what we want to achieve if we had people that were not really interested, didn't really want to take it forward. So you know, and I think we all recognise that this is all about patient safety and promoting best practice, and that's what we're there for, you know. So again, I just feel so fortunate to have fantastic link support around us and stuff, and those who are not interested, we just treat them as the laggards and we just leave them to last, and then they feel guilty and they come on board anyhow. So
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.